For those of you who are new to our lunchtime lives, they're basically just an opportunity to chat with someone who's doing something interesting in the kind of world of waste reduction. And what we're going to chat about today is a new kind of campaign that Material Focus are running called Recycle Your Electricals. So we'll find out more about that and the ways that you can recycle your electrical kind of goods in Leeds. And it is live. So if you've got any kind of questions for Scott as we're going through we're chatting, please do put the comments in the below this post, and then either we'll kind of respond to them here and now, or we'll kind of respond after the chat. So I mean, Scott, just before we start, I mean, you have got a bit of a kind of connection to Leeds. I think that's right. I think you studied here.
Yeah. I studied at Leeds. Lived in Leeds for 4 years, so I studied geography. So it's great. It's an added reason to be interested in this stuff. But it's great to be talking today. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I mean, before we get into the detail of Material Focus and your campaign, could you give us a bit of context in terms of the issue around waste electricals and why it matters, and something we should look at?
Sure. So some research recently done by the United Nations has shown that electrical waste is the fastest growing waste stream in the world. We only have to look around our own, houses and at work or working from home, as we've been doing, to see the amount of technology that we're using. And electrical waste or electricals is quite a broad range in itself. So it's domestic appliance stuff, it's kitchen, equipment, toasters, through to fridges, through to IT, through to servers. And also includes things like that people don't necessarily think are electricals, like cables and plugs and chargers and that sort of stuff that we all have pretty much lying around in drawers, waiting for some day that we'll find out what it connects to. So within those electrical items is a vast array of precious and valuable material, from aluminium, steel, plastic, gold in circuit boards, copper, and also through to some quite unique and rare metals that help smart tech work as well. So it is a big issue. Too much of it, we've done some research ourselves, and we found out that over 150,000 tons a year in the UK alone is lost because it goes down the wrong route. It goes into kitchen bins rather than into the recycling points. And we're on a mission, if you will, to stop that happening and get the stuff into the right place, because anything with a plug, battery or cable can be recycled. And it's a common sense thing for us all to do, because recycling that material is so much better than the equivalent mining for new material.
Yeah. So you're saying it's the fastest growing source of waste in the world, did you say?
Yeah, that says the United Nations. So technology it's just becoming more pervasive everywhere. UK as an established economy is a big user of technology, and it's not an entire sort of a disaster in the sense of what's happening in the UK at the moment. A lot of the stuff is being picked up and captured, particularly the larger stuff. So if just anecdotally for all of us, if your washing machine breaks down and it can't be repaired, then it's difficult to get rid of. So it sets you in motion to either contact the retailer who will collect it when the new one comes, or take it to your local civic community site. So bigger stuff tends to be captured. Where the biggest challenge lies with those smaller items, like the cables, like the toothbrush, like the vapes, if people are not sure what to do with it, almost three things can sort of happen with it. They can look at it and go, I'm not sure, I'll just put it in the bin. They'll look at it, I'm not sure, I'll put it in a drawer for some point in the future, and then that drawer builds up with the cables and whatnot. Or they'll try and get it recycled. And we're just trying to make recycling the sort of minimum that people do with these things. Certainly stop putting it in the bin. And then across the technology, we're also trying to highlight that stuff can be reused, stuff can be repaired. So as I said, recycling becomes our bare minimum. For certain equipment, we have a postcode locator, Recycle Your Electricals. People can find out their nearest drop-off points for donation as well as for recycling too.
Yeah, no, good. And we'll come on to that kind of later, in terms of how you're making it easier for people to find where to recycle. But just a little bit about who Material Focus are as well. So could you explain a bit about? You've said a little bit about your campaign already, but I suppose how you come about and how you're funded to do the work that you do.
Sure. So as I sort of touched upon, there's been regulations in the UK, laws in the UK that make producers responsible for recycling electricals at the end of life. There's similar legislation for vehicles and packaging and whatnot. But that's existed for probably about 12 years now. The system's had a few tweaks, and over the last few years, how it works is that the government sets targets to the producers to collect a certain amount of electricals across the different sort of types of equipment. And if those targets are not met, then there's an alternative way of them complying with the regulations, which is called a compliance fee. And that fee is then meant to be used to then support the system to be better in the future. And we manage that fund. Over the last 3 or 4 years, the fee has increased as the targets have got higher. And we're managing a fund of around about £17 million, which is quite significant. We have a program running through to the end of 2024 at the earliest, and we're independent of government, we're independent of producers, but we work with electrical producers, local authorities, community organisations, schools, colleges, university, like we're working with the University of Leeds, city councils like Leeds City Council, all manner of players, and we're just trying to get everybody, corralled together and collaborating to make it easier for people to reuse and recycle electricals. And that, by easier, that's like a physical ease. So we're trying to get more collection options and drop-off options for people, but also a mental ease by getting it out there to people that they should be thinking they can recycle this stuff. And it's an easy thing for, it's one of those environmental stories where there's a positive in that we can do something about it as individuals. We just need to make a tiny little change, and the system is there to take this stuff, repurpose it, get the materials back, and in fact a lot of the processing actually happens within the UK too. So there's lots of reasons for doing this, and we're just making sure that people have full awareness of that.
Yeah, no, good. And I mean, your Recycle Your Electricals campaign is very much a kind of citizen consumer focused campaign, is that right? To kind of, as you say, try to make it easier for people to know what to do and to be able to recycle their
Exactly, yeah. So as an organization, we have different strands. So we're involved in various research projects as well to make the system stronger. But in terms of Recycle Your Electricals, that's a national campaign, very much focused at all of us as consumers. And yes, trying to get that message across and encourage all of us to be part of that change, really. And it's we all get bombarded with messages all the time, of course, so we're in that mix, but hopefully people see is a positive thing. We have a messenger. We've developed a psychedelic pink hypnotic cat, Hypnocat, who is there to hypnotize the nation into reusing and recycling their electricals. So yes, it's a very consumer focused part of our activity, and we're getting good traction where we're seeing it as a really positive step. We've been going about a year now, so it's still early days, but we're pleased with the impacts that we've been having.
No, that's good. And one of the things that people go to the Recycle Your Electricals website, you've got a recycling locator there that can help people find the nearest place to recycle. And I mean, I was just looking at this morning, there's been a lot of new electrical banks put in Leeds, and they're now all on that.
Yeah, indeed. So which is a great time to be talking. So recently there's the council and their partners have rolled out around 20, I think, what are called bring banks, but a bit like bottle banks that we'll all recognise. So they're located in Leeds, including one at the student union. It's important time of year with people leaving university and clearing out. So we've got those. So if people just search Recycle Your Electricals, there's a postcode locator that's very clear there. Pop in their postcode and it will give them the nearest options. And what we're doing is adding to that locator all the time as more collection points come on stream. So people can look for themselves, but they also might want to look for family members in other areas and stuff like that. So if people can spread that message out, then that's a key win for us.
No, that's good. And I mean, I've got a question. I mean, it's a personal question actually about where do retailers fit in with all of this? Because I sometimes think when our kettle broke a couple of months ago, and I'm thinking, right, well, what can I have somewhere in my head? I'm thinking that retailers are supposed to take these things back. And where are we with all that side of things, that that almost like taking things back to the retailer themselves alongside the the bring backs things?
Well, I mean, it's a little unclear at the moment in the UK. It's a bit of an uncertain environment, unfortunately. But the larger electrical retailers are required to take back what's called like for like, so one for one. So if you're buying a new kettle, they will take the old kettle. A number of retailers actually don't have that one for one requirement. They actually just will take anything back. You've also got large electricals, which is slightly different. So when fridges and washing machines and dishwashers are being delivered, those who are delivering it will offer a take back. There may be a charge for that, not for the recycling, but a charge for some of the logistics, sometimes not. So it's a bit of a mixed message, but the regulations themselves are being looked at, and I expect there to be a lot more clarity soon. And then, of course, when you have that clarity, we'll be able to push that message out. But people should, have a look at our locator. We do include retailers who we know will take back, but also have a look at the retailer's website if they're uncertain. But as soon as we one thing that we're very careful on the locator is making sure that site, any site on there is real, because one thing that we've learned through behavior change is that if people have a negative experience the first time, that's quite a powerful thing. But as soon as we know that retailers are taking back on what they're taking back, we'll be adding to that. Another dimension as well is batteries too. It's not something that we necessarily focus on, but batteries and electricals are quite similar. So batteries are taken back by essentially anyone who sells a battery should have a battery collection box as well. And people shouldn't forget about batteries in the context of this.
Yeah, because again, they can be an issue, can't they? If they go into, there's been cases of fires in bin wagons and that type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, regretfully, yeah. So the advice is for people to, if they can take the battery out. It's not always possible with certain equipment, but if a battery is able to be removed, then people should do that and put it into the battery collection box. But it just shows you, it's like an unintended consequence of something going into the wrong route. If something with and it's only certain types of batteries, but if something with a battery is in a kitchen bin, it's likely to go into a wagon that will compress it in some form or other, and then that's where that sort of risk lies. So it's not just an environmental thing here. There's an economic thing, and then there's a safety thing as well.
No, sure. And as you said, there's a lot more to do, but there is, we're kind of it's another important message to kind of get out there. So as you say, the kind of key message for people: recycling locator on your website. They can find their kind of local kind of place to recycle. Could you just tell us a bit more as well? You mentioned about the Leeds University campaign, because I mean we've been promoting quite a bit the campaign at the end of the university term for students to donate items that might otherwise get thrown away. So did you say you've put there's a recycling bank outside the student union at Leeds University at the moment?
Yes, so in the main square outside the student union, we've also had leaflets, and we've got visuals, posters and displays around the union. I can imagine the union looks quite a lot different than when I was there, but so I was trying to rack my brains of memories of too much time spent in the old bar, probably.
For
anybody's good. But so we've been working with the university to promote that, and to put electricals in the mix of a really good campaign that they've got, which is end of term. If you're clearing out, don't forget that recycling is part of that. Don't just throw stuff in the bin, because there's some reuse or repair or recycling value.
And without being too stereotypical, I would imagine kind of young people are amongst the kind of highest consumers of electrical goods and things, whether that's phones or kettles and toasters in shared houses or whatever it might be. So I imagine that it's a key group to reach out to.
Yeah, and you've got the start. When people first join university, you might have. I remember going into halls of residence, or I was in a flat, but 2 or 3 people in that have been, their parents have given them the starter set, the kettle, the sort of the Argos or Tesco starter set, and some of that stuff may never ever be used, because you only need one, you only need one toaster, sort of thing. But when it comes to end of term, you've never used it, it's there. So a fascinating stat we found was that there are enough unused broken cables and chargers in the UK to go around the earth 5 times. And that's that's it's sort of a mind-boggling sort of stat. But I'd imagine, particularly now in many student houses, there's a lot of iPhone and Android chargers and cables lying around and whatnot. So
and is that, because I mean, one thing we people sometimes challenge us on is about our focus on what individuals can do, and maybe not enough focus on what businesses should be doing on all of this. I mean, is that something in terms of the other side of your work, you're looking to work with the industry to say, right, well, how do we do, things like cables and all that kind of stuff? There must be things that can be done to create less waste in the first place. Do you know what I mean? Is the work going on within industries to try?
Plenty. And again, I mean, nothing's perfect, but yes, there is plenty of work going on in that space at a European level and at a UK level. So yeah, we work with players, and the other hat that we have around the research and the policy side is that what we invest a lot of time in is essentially fact finding, so that then, whilst we don't make policy recommendations, we can give the industry the information it needs to make good decisions. So it's very much part of what we're involved in, and there is work in that space. But the technology transitions are sort of, if you delve into them, can be quite, they can be quite huge and quite rapid as well. We're all now accustomed to smartphones, but of course this is it's a 10-15-year-old technology that has become sort of ubiquitous in the UK. So then people have to, it's almost like the policy inevitably is always a little bit behind what's happened. So
because things are moving so quickly.
But there's a lot of work around repairability, around durability, access to spare parts, and that's it's a moving feast, but there is progress there. Progress probably could be quicker in some things, but you could say that probably of everything. But definitely, as an industry as a whole, the tech industry is very aware of its responsibilities and its requirements, and it's trying to put the same efforts it puts into innovating products into this space. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on.
No, good. And I just think it's an important reminder, isn't it? Part of our role as citizens is to kind of challenge some of those organizations to do more themselves, as well as doing what we can.
Exactly. There's a sort of, I mean, one thing where I'd say what we're doing with the campaign is almost that we're unapologetically positive. It's like, this is something we can make a difference. It's not the entire answer, as you said. It requires all, all players within any industry to make that lasting change. But, circular economy and zero waste are big. There's more than buzzwords when it comes to this sector, and businesses are developing and looking at those. And, there's lots of interesting stuff that you can imagine in the future around leasing products rather than owning products. We all own washing machines, but do we need to own it? But actually, all we want are clean clothes. So you sort of move to a service model, which is around maybe paying for the leasing of that washing machine, or paying per wash, or whatever. And so there's lots of thought being put into that stuff. But we're not blaming it. Individuals are not to blame for this issue, but if we put stuff in the bin, that's a bad decision. So at that point, sure.
and we, as I say, a lot of our work is very similar, really. Kind of trying to focus on the positive, what the things we can do, but also, as you say, kind of recognize that there are bigger systemic issues that we need to try to influence as well. But let's focus on what we can.
And the thing with this area as well is that the structure is there, the system is there, and the producers are required to pay for the cost of collection and recycling. So if we put it there, it will be done. It's not like you don't need that other broader system change. The system's there. Really, it just needs. So it almost feels incumbent for us, because it's there, just put it in the right place. That's the big thing. That's the simple thing we can all do, is put it in the right place.
Yeah, and as you said, that's where your campaign comes in, and the recycling locator that we'll put a link to kind of below. Could I just ask about? I mean, one thing we've got, that's really good in Leeds is quite a few kind of projects that are working on reuse and repair. So we've got people like Digital Access West Yorkshire, Solidaritech, who have been repurposing people's laptops and tablets and that kind of thing, particularly for kids who've been kind of homeschooling for a while. We've been involved with the Hubbub campaign, community calling about mobile phones and things. And then we've got Leeds Repair Cafe as well, and a couple of other repair cafes across kind of Leeds and the broader area. Again, you know, helping people to repair all sorts of things, but also including some kind of electrical items. I mean, where do you see kind of repair and reuse fitting in alongside the kind of, you know, the important focus on recycling these materials?
Yeah, I mean, it has equal standing, if not more standing. So, you know, the waste hierarchy or the preferences for reuse and repair before recycling. We're trying to make recycling the minimum thing that people do, because at the moment, too many people waste rather than recycle. But we funded a number of projects with community organizations around reuse and repair. In the height of the first lockdown, we gave £500,000 of grants to reuse organizations, of over 30, I think 35 of them maybe. Someone will shout at me for getting that stat wrong, I'm sure, but it was a number of them, and that so that helped them continue to manage material, and the value of the products that were given to those in need was over £1.5 million from that, so it paid back 3 times. Within the recycling locator, it's not, we call it a recycling locator, it's a reuse and recycling locator, so community sector and donation points are included there. And although we've not got a project directly in Leeds at the moment, we actually have a project with the charity St Vincent de Paul in Bradford.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Which has been a bit delayed because of, for obvious reasons, but we're looking to get that kick-started again. So very much part of the piece. But the thing with reuse is it sort of depends on the type of product. Certain products lend themselves more to being reused than others. And a big focus of the campaign has been on the smaller electricals that are easy to be lost. And there, the potential for reuse of a broken cable or a broken charger is probably not. So it's a cliche, but there's horses for courses. You know, certain things are better being managed through that recycling route, but definitely reuse is on our agenda. And we, not just a locator, on the website, for those who are interested in more information, there's waves of information there. And we talk around, we advise people to prep how they can prep their devices for reuse. We've got advice on data wiping, which is obviously an issue. So the advice from the information that's endorsed by the Office of Information Commission, which is advice on data wiping. We also, another thing that's maybe worth mentioning is, of course, another route for these local authority sites, so recycling centres and stuff like that. It may, you know, it wouldn't be advisable with someone with one charger to go to a local authority site for a special trip for recycling. So another thing that we urge people to do is sometimes just to bag up the electricals to get them ready. So as it builds up, then, you know, get them in a bag, and it's almost a psychological reminder that you're collecting that to do something with it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And again, that in terms of, because at the moment you need to book a slot at a household waste site in Leeds, for example. So being that, sometimes it is about being that bit more organised, isn't it? So get a few things that you remember to take the next time.
Yeah, and take it when you're taking the grass clippings or something else. But yeah, that's been a consequence of the times we're in, that in a number of areas it's not. I think many areas we were used to just turning up, but now there's got this bookable system, so it's a much more considered event. And yeah, what we're trying to do is then, when you're doing that, why not, if you're doing something else, include some electricals? Because I'd wager almost all of us have some of this stuff lying around somewhere.
Everybody must have a drawer that's got a few, a phone or two, and as you say,
and I'll admit,
cables, you can't remember what they're for.
Yeah,
you know, but you don't want to throw them away just yet because you think it might be for that thing that you haven't quite remembered.
Well, exactly. It's a human thing, isn't it? You know, I confess I've got a drawer, but I certainly know what I'm going to do. You know, I know what I'm going to do with it. So it's really just the right moment, and having this, putting electricals on the same space or place or mental spaces as packaging or as tins, as bottles, because we're all now accustomed to that. And one thing about changing behavior is it does take time. It's about repetition and repeat messages and all of those sort of things.
Yeah. I mean, just before we finish, really, I mean, you mentioned obviously kind of COVID before. I mean, has there been any research into were there impacts on this kind of recycling from the last 18 months that we've lived through, either positive or
Yeah, there was. We did some research into it. It's difficult to attribute specific things, but on a whole, I mean, local authority sites were closed for a couple of months, essentially around the country. So there was a tail off then. We worked with recyclers, so we provided them some financial support because their models are based on material coming to them, and the material wasn't coming to them. Since then, we've sort of seen a pickup. So certainly the larger stuff, the fridges and the washing machines, there's no, that they've entered the system. I think it's fair to say that probably some of the smaller stuff, more smaller stuff than usual, would have been lost because those options weren't there. But it's starting. The flow seems to be what it was previously. Now but there was a tricky time for lots of businesses. I mean, we launched on March the 17th, St. Patrick's Day, which was, I think that was when the country closed down all the days. So we launched at a difficult time, but also what we were able to do, we responded to that. We had a big focus around decluttering because that was, a lot of people were doing that because they're spending more time at home. But you've also seen another thing that we're looking at the moment is changes in what people are buying. A lot more tech was bought for home working and things like that. So yeah, it had an impact. The true impact is, I guess, we'll see later in the year when everything's bedded down. But
no, interesting. No, good. Right. Well, I mean, I think we're coming to a bit of a close of 1:30. But I mean, could you just remind people in terms of their kind of calls to action, and as you say, there's things we can all do around this. So in terms of what people can do, what are the main things that we'd like people to remember?
Sure. So key message for us is that the people to recognize that anything with a plug, battery or cable can be recycled. It contains valuable materials that if you put it in the bin are going to be lost forever. They should visit our website, Recycle Your Electricals, pop in their postcode. In the context of Leeds, there's 20 banks across Leeds where you can drop off your electricals. There are other options too, and they'll all be included on the website. Yeah. So the big thing is, just recognize that drawer of cables and chargers has value, and let's all try and get it into the right place so that we can get that value back.
Yeah, fantastic. No, that's great. Well, we've been with there's comments below this video already. We'll add some more later on. Make sure we've got all the links to your your campaign. And thank you to everybody watching. If you're watching this afterwards as well, if you've got any questions, please do put them below, and we'll do our best to respond to them. And just a reminder as well to keep an eye out for our other work at the moment. So today is the first birthday of our Leeds School Uniform Exchange project, and those of you who were up early this morning might have heard Jill on 5 Live talking about that. So we've got a link to that on our Facebook page as well. So we're really going to be pushing that over the next few weeks again. So any help with that people can support us with. And then obviously we're running our glass recycling campaign at the moment as well. So a lot of very similar themes to some of the stuff you've been talking about, Scott, in terms of kind of getting into habits, seeing the value of it, not as a just as a kind of waste product. There's actually value in the product. So there'll be lots more on our social media over the next few weeks on that as well. But Scott, thank you very much for your time, and please do come back to Leeds sometime.
I definitely will. Thanks.
All right, thanks very much. Cheers. Thanks for your time.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
See you. Thanks.